The underground fight club smells like sweat, blood, and the kind of testosterone that makes bad decisions feel inevitable. The concrete walls are slick with condensation, and somewhere in the darkness beyond the chain-link cage, men are shouting bets in 3 different languages: English, Russian, and what I think might be Italian, though my knowledge of Romance languages is limited to menu items and opera. The metal folding chair I'm perched on is cold through my jeans, and I can feel the vibration of bass from the speakers mounted in the corners, playing some aggressive electronic music that's all distorted screams and punishing beats. I shouldn't be here. This is the kind of place my journalism professor warned us about, the kind where witnesses disappear and cameras mysteriously malfunction. But my editor sent me to cover the underground sports scene for a piece on illegal gambling, and here I am, notebook in hand, trying very hard to look like I belong among the crowd of dangerous men in expensive watches and women in dresses that cost more than my rent. The current fight ends with a sickening crack, someone's nose probably, and the crowd erupts. Money changes hands. Someone bumps into my chair, and I catch a whiff of cigar smoke and cologne that probably costs more per ounce than my car payment. "You look lost, Solnishka." The voice comes from directly beside me, and I turn to find a man who makes every warning bell in my head start ringing simultaneously. He's younger than I expected, mid-30s maybe, with dark blonde hair that's just long enough to be intentionally styled and eyes the color of winter ice. There's a scar cutting through his left eyebrow, and he's wearing a black shirt that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms covered in tattoos I can't quite make out in the dim lighting. "Russian ink," my brain supplies helpfully. "Bratva. You're sitting next to a Russian mobster." "I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be," I lie, proud that my voice doesn't shake. He smiles, and it's the kind of smile that says he knows I'm lying and finds it amusing. "Really? Because you've been writing in that notebook for 20 minutes, and you haven't looked at the cage once. Either you're a very dedicated journalist or you're documenting something else entirely." My hand tightens on my pen. "I'm a sports writer." "No, you're not." He leans closer, and I catch the scent of expensive whiskey and something uniquely him, clean, masculine, dangerous. "Sports writers know how to watch a fight. You wince every time someone lands a hit. You're not here for the violence. So why are you here, Maya?" The fact that he knows my name makes my blood run cold. "How do you—" "Your press credentials are hanging around your neck," he says, nodding toward the laminated badge I'd forgotten I was wearing. "Maya Reese, Manhattan Tribune. I make it my business to know who's documenting my world." "Your world?" Did I stutter? Before I can respond, a new fighter enters the cage, and the crowd's energy shifts, from excited to absolutely electric. The man beside me straightens slightly, his attention moving from me to the cage, and I follow his gaze. The fighter is a living weapon. That's the first thought that crosses my mind. He's maybe 6'2", 6'3", with the kind of build that comes from years of disciplined training, broad shoulders, tapered waist, muscles that move like liquid under tattoo-covered skin. His hands are wrapped in black tape, and there's already dried blood on his knuckles from a previous fight. Dark hair, dark eyes, a jaw that looks like it was carved from marble, and an expression of absolute, cold focus. "That's Maxim," the man beside me says quietly. "He's undefeated in 63 fights. Never been knocked down, never tapped out, never lost." "Who is he?" I ask, even though I already know I shouldn't care. "Maxim Volkov, enforcer for the Volkov Bratva, my younger brother." He extends his hand. "Yuri Volkov. Pleasure to meet you, Miss Reese." I don't take his hand. "I don't shake hands with criminals." He laughs. Actually laughs. "I like you. You've got spine. Most people are smarter than that, but I like it." In the cage, the fight begins. Maxim moves like violence personified, precise, brutal, efficient. His opponent is bigger, heavier, but it doesn't matter. Maxim dismantles him with clinical precision, a jab to test defenses, a leg kick that makes the other man stumble, a combination that's too fast for me to track, and then a takedown that ends with the opponent tapping frantically against the mat. 30 seconds. The whole fight lasts 30 seconds. The crowd goes insane. He's fighting again in 20 minutes, Yuri says casually. Back-to-back matches. It's his specialty. He takes on multiple opponents in one night, wins every time, and makes us all very wealthy in the process. That's barbaric. That's entertainment. He stands, adjusting his watch. Patek Philippe, my brain notes absently. You should interview him. Get your story. I'll arrange it. I don't want... Yes, you do. You're a journalist. He's an undefeated fighter with ties to organized crime. It's a perfect story. He pauses, looking down at me with those cold, calculating eyes. Unless you're too afraid? I should say yes. I should grab my notebook, leave this place, and write a safe, sanitized piece about underground sports that doesn't name names or dig too deep. But the problem with being a journalist is that we're fundamentally incapable of walking away from a good story. Fine, I hear myself say. I'll interview him. Yuri's smile is sharp as a blade. Excellent. Wait here. He disappears into the crowd, and I'm left alone with the noise and the violence and the growing certainty that I've just made a terrible mistake. They bring me to a room that smells like antiseptic and sweat. It's small, maybe 10 by 10, with concrete walls, a single overhead light, and a metal bench where Maxim Volkov is sitting, unwrapping the tape from his hands. There's fresh blood on his knuckles, a cut above his eyebrow that should probably be stitched, and he doesn't look up when I enter. Your brother said I could interview you, I say, staying near the door because every instinct I have is screaming that getting closer to this man is dangerous. Did he? It's not a question. His voice is deeper than I expected, rough around the edges, with the faintest trace of an accent that softens his consonants. I'm Maya Reese. I write for... I know who you are. He finally looks up, and the impact of his direct gaze is physical. Dark eyes, so dark they're almost black, that assess me with the same clinical precision he used to dismantle his opponent. You write fluff pieces about high school sports and human interest stories. You've been at the Tribune for 2 years. You're 27, graduated from Columbia, and you live in a studio apartment in Queens that you can barely afford. You take the 7 train to work every day, you drink your coffee black, and you're 3 months behind on your student loan payments. I stare at him. How do you... I told you, my brother makes it his business to know who's watching us. I make it my business to know everything. He goes back to unwrapping his hands, methodical and precise. So, what do you want to know, Miss Reese? Everything, my brain supplies. I want to know how you learned to fight like that. I want to know what those tattoos mean. I want to know if you've killed people. I want to know why looking at you makes my pulse race even though I know you're dangerous. How long have you been fighting? I ask instead, pulling out my notebook and pen, like this is a normal interview and not a conversation with a man who could probably kill me with one hand. Since I was 8. That's young. I grew up in Vladivostok. You learn to fight or you die. There's no middle ground. He finishes unwrapping his left hand, starts on his right. Next question. You're undefeated. 63 wins, no losses. How do you do it? I'm better than everyone else. It should sound arrogant, but he says it like he's commenting on the weather. Simple fact, no emotion behind it. That's not an answer. It's the only answer that matters. He looks up again, and this time there's something in his expression I can't quite read. You want me to give you some inspirational story about hard work and dedication? That's not how this works. I fight because I'm good at it. I win because losing isn't an option. End of story. Why isn't losing an option? Because in my world, losing means dying, and I'm not ready to die yet. The casual way he says it makes my stomach twist. You could stop fighting, do something else. Like what? He stands, and suddenly the room feels smaller. He's even bigger up close. Broad shoulders, chest that tapers to a narrow waist, arms that look like they could bend steel. I'm a convicted felon, Miss Reese. I've got a record that includes assault, extortion, and conspiracy. I speak 3 languages and I can kill a man in 15 different ways, but I don't have a college degree or a legitimate work history. Fighting is what I'm good at. It's what I do." He moves toward me and I should step back. Every cell in my body is telling me to step back, but I don't. I hold my ground, even as he gets close enough that I can see the small scar on his chin, the way his pupils dilate slightly when he looks at me, the exact moment his gaze drops to my mouth. "You're not afraid," he says quietly. I'm terrified, I admit, because lying to him seems pointless. Good. Fear keeps you alive. He reaches past me, I flinch, I can't help it, but he's just opening the door. "Interview's over." "Wait, I have more questions." "Then come back tomorrow night, I fight again at midnight." He looks at me, and there's something in his expression that makes my breath catch. "If you're brave enough." "I'll be here," I say, even though it's probably the stupidest decision I've ever made. His smile is slow, dangerous, and does absolutely devastating things to my pulse. "We'll see." I go back the next night. I tell myself it's for the story. My editor loved the preliminary notes I sent her, and she's pushing for a full feature with photos and interviews. I tell myself it's professional curiosity, journalistic integrity, the pursuit of truth. I don't examine too closely why I spent an extra 20 minutes on my makeup or why I'm wearing jeans that actually fit instead of my usual loose, comfortable ones. The underground fight club is even more crowded tonight. Word must have spread that Maxim Volkov is fighting because the energy in the room is frantic, almost desperate. I spot Yuri near the cage talking to a group of men in expensive suits, and when he sees me, he grins and gestures for me to come over. "You came back," he says, sounding genuinely pleased. "I wasn't sure you would." "I told your brother I'd be here." "Maxim doesn't think you'll stay for the whole fight. He says you'll leave after the first knockout." Yuri lights a cigarette, offers me one. I shake my head. He's fighting 3 opponents tonight. Back to back to back. No breaks. It's going to get messy. "Why does he do this?" I ask, even though I'm not sure I want to know the answer. Yuri exhales smoke, considering. "You'd have to ask him, but if I had to guess, because he needs to feel something. And pain is easier than everything else." Before I can ask what he means, the lights dim, and Maxim enters the cage. Tonight, he's shirtless, and I can see the full scope of his tattoos. Cyrillic script across his ribs, a massive Orthodox cross covering his back, a wolf's head on his chest, stars on his shoulders that I know mean he's a high-ranking member of the Bratva. His body is a roadmap of violence, scars layered over scars, old wounds that healed badly, and I find myself cataloging each one, wondering what stories they tell. The first opponent is massive, 6'5", easily 250, with arms like tree trunks and a face that's been broken and rebuilt multiple times. The crowd is screaming, and I can barely hear my own thoughts over the noise. The fight starts. Maxim doesn't rush. He circles, patient, calculating, letting the bigger man throw wild punches that hit nothing but air. And then, so fast I almost miss it, he moves inside the other man's guard, lands a brutal elbow to the jaw, follows it with a knee to the ribs, and finishes with a spinning back fist that drops his opponent like a stone. 45 seconds. The crowd is insane, and Maxim just stands there, breathing hard but not winded, waiting for the next opponent. The second fight lasts longer, almost 2 minutes. This opponent is a wrestler, tries to take Maxim to the ground, and there's a terrifying moment where they're grappling, and I can see the strain in Maxim's shoulders, the way his muscles flex and bunch as he fights for position. But then he locks in a choke, I don't know the technical name, and the other man taps frantically, face turning red, and it's over. "One more," Yuri says beside me. "This one's going to be interesting." The third opponent is different from the others. He's smaller, faster, and he moves like he actually knows what he's doing. They exchange strikes, punch, kick, elbow, and for the first time tonight, Maxim takes damage. A kick to his ribs makes him grunt, a punch opens the cut above his eyebrow, and blood runs down his face, into his eyes. The crowd's energy shifts from confident to uncertain. I realize I'm gripping the edge of my chair so hard my knuckles are white. The fight devolves into something brutal and ugly. No technique now, just violence. They're on the ground, trading positions, and Maxim's face is a mask of blood, and I should look away but I can't. And then, somehow, Maxim gets his opponent's back, locks in a chokehold, and squeezes. The other man doesn't tap. He goes limp instead. Maxim holds the choke for 3 more seconds, long enough that I wonder if he's going to kill him, before releasing and standing up. The referee checks the unconscious fighter, signals that he's alive, and the crowd explodes. Maxim doesn't celebrate. He just walks out of the cage, blood dripping from his face, and disappears into the back room. "Go," Yuri says, nodding toward the hallway. "He'll want to see you." "Why would he want to see me?" Yuri's smile is knowing. "Because you stayed, and because you're the first person in a long time who looks at him like he's human instead of a monster." I find Maxim in the same small room as yesterday, sitting on the metal bench with his head tilted back, trying to stop the bleeding from the cut above his eyebrow. There's a first aid kit open beside him, gauze and tape scattered everywhere, and his hands are shaking just enough that I can tell he's running on adrenaline and nothing else. "You should let a doctor look at that," I say from the doorway. Doctors ask questions. He doesn't look at me, just presses a piece of gauze harder against the cut. I don't like questions. "You're going to need stitches." I've had worse. I believe him. The scars covering his body are evidence enough. Against every ounce of common sense I possess, I step into the room and close the door behind me. "Let me help." "Why?" "Because you're bleeding all over yourself and your hands are shaking too much to do it properly." I cross to the bench, pick up the first aid kit, and gesture for him to lower his hands. "Let me see." He looks at me for a long moment, assessing, calculating, and then slowly lowers his hands. The cut is deep, a 2-inch gash that's still bleeding sluggishly, and I can see the white of bone beneath the split skin. "You definitely need stitches," I say, trying to keep my voice steady even though the sight of that much blood is making me lightheaded. "Then stitch it." "I'm not a doctor." "But you know how, don't you?" His gaze is sharp, focused, despite the blood loss. "Your father was a combat medic. You grew up watching him patch up your brothers after football games and bar fights. You know how to close a wound." The fact that he knows this about me should be terrifying, but instead it's something else entirely. Something that feels uncomfortably like being seen. That was years ago. Muscle memory doesn't forget. He hands me a curved needle and thread from the first aid kit. "Please." The please is what does it. I've heard him give orders, heard him speak with absolute authority, but this quiet request is different. Vulnerable. "This is going to hurt," I warn him. "Everything hurts." He tilts his head back, exposing his throat in a gesture of trust that makes something in my chest tighten. "I can handle it." I step between his knees. Have to get the right angle, and suddenly I'm hyper-aware of every point of contact. My thigh brushing his, the heat radiating off his body, the way his breath hitches slightly when I press the gauze against the wound to clean it. "You stayed," he says quietly while I thread the needle. "Yuri said you would leave after the first knockout." I'm stubborn. I noticed. His hand comes up. I freeze. But he's just steadying himself against my hip, fingers splayed wide, thumb pressing into the curve where my hip meets my waist. "You can do this. I trust you." I shouldn't feel warm at those words. I shouldn't feel anything except professional detachment. But I do. I pierce his skin with the needle and he doesn't even flinch. I work slowly, carefully, closing the wound with small, precise stitches, the way my father taught me when I was 16 and thought I might go into medicine. Maxim doesn't move, doesn't make a sound, but his hand on my hip tightens fractionally with each stitch, and I can feel his pulse beating against my wrist where my arm rests on his shoulder for balance. "Why do you fight like that?" I ask, needing to fill the silence, needing to focus on something other than how close we are. "You could pace yourself. You don't have to take on 3 opponents in one night." "If I pace myself, I think," he says. "I don't want to think." What are you trying not to think about? He doesn't answer immediately. I tie off another stitch, cut the thread, start the next one. My father was Bratva, he finally says. High-ranking, important. He had expectations, for me, for Yuri, for what we would become. I met most of them, got made when I was 22, killed my first man when I was 19, did everything I was supposed to do. I finish another stitch. But I'm 34 years old, and I've been in this life for 16 years, and I'm tired. His thumb moves against my hip, small circles that I don't think he's aware of making. Tired of the violence, tired of the blood, tired of being the monster everyone expects me to be. You're not a monster, I say, and I mean it. You don't know what I've done. I know you could have killed that last opponent, and you didn't. I know you held back just enough to spare his life. I tie off the final stitch, cut the thread, and step back to examine my work. That doesn't sound like a monster to me. He opens his eyes. When did he close them? And the look he gives me is so raw, so unguarded, that I forget how to breathe. You should go, he says, but his hand is still on my hip, and he's not pushing me away. Should I? I echo his words from yesterday. Yes, because if you stay, I'm going to kiss you. And if I kiss you, I'm not going to stop there. And you deserve better than being another thing a man like me takes. My heart is pounding so hard I can hear it in my ears. What if I want you to take? His jaw clenches. Maya. I'm not afraid of you, Maxim. You should be. But I'm not. I step closer, back between his knees, back into his space. You think you're a monster. But monsters don't ask permission. They don't warn you away. They don't try to protect you from themselves. His other hand comes up, cups my face, thumb tracing my cheekbone with devastating gentleness. I could hurt you. You won't. How do you know? Because I see you, I whisper, and you're not what everyone thinks you are. He pulls me closer, slow enough that I could stop him if I wanted, and his forehead touches mine, breath warm against my lips, and we're so close I can see the gold flecks in his dark eyes, can count his eyelashes, can feel the tremor running through his body. Tell me to stop, he murmurs. I don't. He kisses me. It's not rough or demanding like I expected. It's careful, tentative, like he's afraid I'll shatter. His lips are soft despite the split in the corner of his mouth, and he tastes like copper and adrenaline and something uniquely him. And when I kiss him back, when I open for him, the sound he makes is so raw it borders on pain. His hand slides from my hip to the small of my back, pulling me flush against him, and I can feel the rapid beat of his heart, the way his muscles are tense beneath his skin, the carefully controlled strength in the way he holds me. His other hand tangles in my hair, angles my head, and the kiss deepens, turns desperate. I forget where we are, forget that he's dangerous, forget every reason this is a terrible idea. All I know is that kissing Maxim Volkov feels like falling, and I don't want to stop. When we finally break apart, lungs burning, lips swollen, he rests his forehead against mine again, breathing hard. This is a mistake, he says, but his arms tighten around me. Probably. You should run, as far and as fast as you can. I'm not running. He laughs, broken, almost helpless. Then God help us both. He drives me home. I don't ask him to. Don't ask how he knows I took the subway here or that my car is in the shop. But when we leave the fight club, there's a black Mercedes waiting, and Maxim holds the door open for me like this is a date instead of whatever complicated, dangerous thing this is becoming. The drive is quiet. He doesn't try to fill the silence with small talk, and I appreciate that more than I can say. I'm too busy trying to process what just happened, trying to reconcile the brutal fighter from the cage with the man who kissed me like I was something precious. When we pull up outside my apartment building, he cuts the engine but doesn't move to get out. Can I walk you up? He asks. I should say no. I should thank him for the ride, go inside, and put as much distance between us as possible. Yes, I hear myself say instead, My apartment is exactly what you'd expect from a 27-year-old journalist who's 3 months behind on student loans. Small, cluttered with books and papers, decorated with furniture from IKEA and thrift stores. I'm suddenly hyper-aware of the dishes in the sink, the laundry draped over the chair, the stack of research materials covering half my floor. Maxim doesn't seem to notice. He stands in the middle of the room, looking around with the same careful attention he used to assess his opponents in the cage. "You want coffee?" I ask, because I don't know what else to say. I don't think coffee is what either of us wants right now. He's right, but I go to the kitchen anyway, needing something to do with my hands. He follows me, silent, close enough that I can feel the heat of him at my back, and when I reach for the coffee filters, his hand covers mine. "Maya." I turn around and he's right there, close enough to kiss, looking at me like I'm a puzzle he's trying to solve. "Why did you come back tonight?" he asks. "The truth. For the story." Liar. "Maybe I wanted to see you again." His jaw clenches. "You shouldn't want that." "Why not?" "Because I'm—" He stops, shakes his head. "You saw what I am tonight. What I do. The violence. The blood. That's my world, Maya. There's no version of this where I become something different, something safe. This is who I am. And what if I'm okay with that?" "You shouldn't be." He steps back, runs a hand through his hair, frustrated, agitated. "I've killed people, not in the cage, in real life. I've pulled the trigger, held the knife, made people disappear. I'm not a good man." "I don't believe in good men or bad men," I say. "I believe in choices, and every choice you've made tonight has been to protect someone, your brother's business, that fighter's life, even me. Protecting you means keeping you away from me. That's not your decision to make." We stare at each other, and the tension in the room is thick enough to choke on. "I haven't—" He stops, starts again. "I haven't felt like this in a long time. Maybe ever. And it scares the hell out of me." The admission costs him. I can see it in the rigid set of his shoulders, the way his hands clench into fists. "Feels like what?" I ask softly. "Like I want something I can't have. Like I want to be someone I'm not." He looks at me, and his expression is so raw it makes my chest ache. "When I'm with you, I forget what I am, and that's dangerous. Forgetting gets people killed." I cross to him slowly, giving him time to move away. He doesn't. "What if you're not forgetting?" I say, stopping inches from him. "What if you're just remembering who you are underneath everything else?" His hand comes up, cups my cheek, and his touch is so gentle it makes me want to cry. "You see something in me that isn't there," he whispers. "Or maybe I see something you've forgotten." He kisses me again, slower this time, deeper, like he's memorizing the shape of my mouth, the taste of me. His hands slide down to my waist and he lifts me onto the counter, steps between my legs, and the kiss turns desperate. "Tell me to leave," he murmurs against my lips. "No." "Maya." "Stay." I pull back enough to look at him to make sure he understands. "Just for tonight. Stay." Something in his expression cracks, relief, maybe, or surrender. "Okay?" he breathes. "Okay." We don't sleep together, not in the way his kiss promised. Instead, we end up on my couch, his arm around me, my head on his chest, talking until the sky outside my window starts to lighten with dawn. He tells me about growing up in Vladivostok, about his father's impossible expectations, about the first time he killed someone and how he threw up for hours afterward. I tell him about my father's death, about the student loans that feel like an anchor, about the stories I want to write if I'm ever brave enough. It's the most honest conversation I've ever had, and I don't want it to end. But at 6:30, his phone buzzes. He checks it, and his entire body goes rigid. "I have to go," he says, already standing, and the tenderness from moments ago is gone, replaced by the cold, focused fighter from the cage. "What's wrong?" "Nothing you need to worry about." He's already at the door, and there's something in his expression that makes my stomach drop. Stay inside today. Don't go to work. Don't leave your apartment. Maxim, what? Promise me, Maya. Stay inside. You're scaring me. Good. Be scared. He kisses me. Hard, fast, desperate. I'll explain later, just promise me. I promise. He leaves, and I'm alone with the rising sun and a growing sense of dread. I try to follow his instructions, I really do. But at 9 a.m., my editor calls asking where I am, and at 10, I get a text from a source about a breaking story, and by 11, I've convinced myself that Maxim was overreacting. I leave my apartment at noon. I make it 2 blocks before I realize I'm being followed. It's subtle, professional. A black SUV with tinted windows that stays 3 cars back, matching my pace when I speed up, slowing when I slow down. My heart starts racing and I duck into a Starbucks trying to figure out what to do. Call the police? And tell them what? That I'm being followed by people who are probably connected to organized crime because I interviewed a Bratva enforcer? I pull out my phone, find Maxim's number in my contacts. When did he put his number in my phone? And call. He answers on the first ring. Where are you? Starbucks. Corner of Lexington and 42nd. Maxim, someone's following me. I know. Stay exactly where you are. Do not leave. Do not go outside. I'm 5 minutes away. He hangs up before I can respond. The longest 5 minutes of my life pass in a blur of terror and caffeine fumes. I order a coffee I don't want, find a seat near the back where I can see the door, and try to look calm even though my hands are shaking so hard I can barely hold my phone. When Maxim walks through the door, the relief is so intense I almost cry. He's dressed differently than last night. Expensive suit, no tie, looking every inch the dangerous criminal instead of the vulnerable man who kissed me in my kitchen. He scans the room, spots me, and crosses to my table with purposeful strides. We're leaving, he says. No greeting, no explanation. Now. What's happening? Not here. He takes my hand, pulls me to my feet, and guides me toward the door with his body between me and the windows, shielding me, I realize. Outside, there's a different car waiting. Not the Mercedes from last night, but something bigger, armored, with Yuri in the driver's seat and 2 other men I don't recognize in the back. Maxim opens the door, helps me inside, and slides in beside me. The car starts moving before my seatbelt is even fastened. Someone want to tell me what the hell is going on? I demand, proud that my voice only shakes a little. Yuri meets my eyes in the rearview mirror. You were at the fight last night. You were seen with Maxim, and our rivals, the Italians we've been at war with for 6 months, decided your leverage. Leverage for what? For territory, for control, for making my brother do what they want. Yuri's expression is grim. They sent men to grab you this morning. Maxim intercepted them. But there will be more. I turn to Maxim, who's staring out the window, jaw clenched so tight I can see the muscle jumping. This is why you told me to stay inside, I say quietly. Yes. Why didn't you tell me the truth? Because I thought... He stops, shakes his head. I thought if I didn't explain, you'd take it seriously. I should have known you'd be too stubborn to listen. I'm not the one who started a war with the Italian Mafia. No, you're just the one who decided to write about us. He finally looks at me, and the fury in his expression takes my breath away. Do you have any idea what you've done? What this means? They know your name now, Maya. They know where you live, where you work, who your friends are. You're a target. Because of me. The guilt in those last 3 words is palpable. This isn't your fault, I say. Yes, it is. His hand finds mine, grips tight. But I'm going to fix it. I'm going to keep you safe, whatever it takes. They take me to a safe house in Brooklyn, a brownstone that looks normal from the outside, but has security cameras on every corner and reinforced doors that lock with biometric scanners. You'll stay here until we resolve the situation, Yuri says, leading me through the house. We have guards posted outside, cameras monitoring every entrance, and Maxim will be here whenever possible. For how long? As long as it takes. I want to argue, want to insist that I have a life and a job and responsibilities, but one look at Maxim's expression tells me that arguing is pointless. They leave me in a bedroom on the second floor, surprisingly comfortable, with a queen bed, attached bathroom, and windows that overlook a small garden. There are clothes in the closet that are somehow exactly my size, toiletries in the bathroom, and a laptop on the desk that's connected to a secure network. You thought of everything, I say to Maxim, who's standing in the doorway like he's not sure if he's allowed to come in. Yuri was thorough. How long have you been planning this? Since I found out the Italians were watching you. 3 days ago. 3 days. Before we even kissed. Before I stayed for his fight. He was already planning to protect me. You should have told me, I say. Would you have believed me? He steps into the room, closes the door behind him. Would you have agreed to go into hiding because a dangerous man you'd interviewed once said you were in danger? He's right, and I hate that he's right. So, what now? I ask. I just stay here, indefinitely? Until it's safe, yes. And what makes it safe? What resolves this situation? His jaw clenches. I'm working on it. That's not an answer, Maxim. It's the only answer I can give you right now. He crosses to me, takes my hands in his. I know this isn't what you wanted. I know your life is being turned upside down because of me, but I need you to trust me. Can you do that? I should say no. Should demand real answers, concrete plans, a timeline. But when I look into his eyes and see the raw desperation there, I find myself nodding. Okay, I whisper. I trust you. The relief in his expression is heartbreaking. We fall into a strange routine. Maxim leaves in the mornings, business he won't explain, and returns in the evenings with takeout food and stories he carefully edits to keep me from worrying. We eat together, watch movies I choose from the extensive collection in the living room, and talk about everything except the danger waiting outside these walls. On the third night, I catch him flexing his right hand, wincing slightly. What's wrong? I ask. Nothing. Old injury. Let me see. He hesitates, then extends his hand. The knuckles are swollen, bruised purple and yellow, and there's a cut across his palm that's healing badly. When did this happen? Yesterday. Doing what? You don't want to know. But I do. Maxim. He sighs, persuading someone to tell me where the Italians are planning their next move. Persuading. The euphemism makes me sick, but I don't pull away. Instead, I go to the kitchen, get ice and a clean towel, and come back to wrap his hand with the same care I used to stitch his face. You don't have to do this, he says quietly. I know. This isn't who I want to be with you. The violence, the blood. When I'm here, I just want to be human. I finish. Yeah. I lean up, kiss him softly. You are human, Maxim. Even when you don't want to be. He pulls me into his lap, buries his face in my neck, and holds on like I'm the only thing keeping him anchored. I don't deserve you, he murmurs against my skin. That's not your decision to make. He laughs, broken, helpless. You're stubborn as hell. You like it. I do. He pulls back, cups my face in his bandaged hands. I really, really do. He kisses me, and this time there's no hesitation, no holding back. It's desperate and consuming, and when he stands carrying me to the bedroom like I weigh nothing, I don't stop him. We don't go all the way. He's too careful for that, too aware of the power imbalance, the danger, the temporary nature of this situation. But we lie together in the dark, skin to skin, his hands mapping every inch of me with reverent slowness, and I learn what makes him gasp, what makes him groan, what breaks his legendary control. And somewhere between his whispered confessions and my own, I realize I'm falling for a man who might not survive long enough for this to have a happy ending. On the 5th day, I wake up to voices downstairs. Maxim is gone, his side of the bed cold, and the clock says it's barely 6 a.m. I pull on one of his shirts. It falls to mid-thigh on me, and creep to the stairs. Can't keep this up indefinitely. That's Yuri's voice. The Italians know she's in hiding. They're getting bolder. Yesterday they tried to hit one of our shipments. Today they'll escalate. Then we escalate first. Maxime sounds cold, dangerous, nothing like the man who held me last night. I want locations on all their key players. If they want a war, we'll give them one. And her? Yuri asks. What happens to Maya when this turns bloody? She stays here, safe. She won't be safe if this turns into a full-scale war, brother. You know that. The safest thing would be to send her away, witness protection, new identity, far from New York. No. Maxime, I said no. There's finality in his voice. I'm not losing her. I back away from the stairs, heart pounding, and return to the bedroom before they realize I was listening. When Maxime comes back upstairs an hour later, I'm pretending to sleep. He sits on the edge of the bed, and I feel the mattress dip under his weight. His hand brushes hair away from my face, so gentle, and he just watches me, like he's memorizing every detail. I'm sorry, he whispers, thinking I can't hear. I'm so sorry I dragged you into this. I want to tell him it's not his fault, want to tell him I chose this, chose him, and I'd choose him again. But the words stick in my throat. Everything changes on the 7th day. I'm in the kitchen, attempting to cook dinner from the impressive but largely unused ingredients in the fridge when Maxime comes home early. One look at his face tells me something is wrong. What happened? I ask, already reaching for him. They made a move. He catches my hands, holds them. Bombed one of our clubs. 3 of our men are dead, 7 injured. This is escalating faster than we anticipated. My stomach drops. What does that mean? It means we're out of time. He pulls me closer, rests his forehead against mine. Maya, I need to tell you something, and you're not going to like it. Then don't tell me. Let's just... I have to. He takes a shaky breath. There's a way to end this. A traditional way. Challenge combat. What's challenge combat? Old Bratva tradition. When 2 organizations are at war, the leaders can agree to settle it through single combat instead of endless bloodshed. Winner takes the disputed territory. Loser backs off permanently. Understanding dawns, cold and horrible. You're going to fight. Yes, you could die. I won't. You don't know that. Maya. He cups my face, forces me to look at him. I've been fighting my entire life. I'm undefeated for a reason. I'm not going to lose. But what if you do? My voice breaks. What happens to me if you die? Yuri will get you out. New identity, new life, far away from all of this. You'll be safe. I don't want to be safe. I want you. The confession hangs between us, raw and undeniable. I want you too, he says roughly. More than I've ever wanted anything, but wanting isn't enough. I need to keep you alive, and this is the only way. I'm crying now, and I hate it, but I can't stop. When? 3 days. At the underground club where we met. Neutral territory, witnessed by both organizations. One fight. Winner takes everything. And if you win? Then you're safe. The Italians back off, the war ends, and you can go back to your life. What about you? Do I get you? He kisses me, desperate, consuming, like he's trying to memorize the taste of me. If I win, you can have anything you want. I want you, I say again. Just you. Alive. Then I'll win. He says it with such absolute certainty that I almost believe him. I promise you, Maya, I'll win. The next 3 days are torture. Maxim is gone more than he's here, training, planning, meeting with his organization. When he is here, he's distant, focused, already in the mindset he needs to survive what's coming. I try to be supportive, try not to think about the fact that in 3 days, the man I'm falling for is going to walk into a cage and fight someone who wants to kill him. On the second night, I find him in the home gym, hitting a heavy bag with methodical precision. You should be resting, I say from the doorway. Can't sleep. He doesn't stop, just keeps hitting. Jab, cross, hook, again and again. Every time I close my eyes, I see you in danger, see you hurt, see you dying because of me. That's not going to happen. You don't know that. I cross to him, catch his hands before he can throw another punch. Then don't do this. Let's run. Leave New York, start over somewhere else. They'll find us, and next time I might not be able to protect you. He pulls his hands free, goes back to hitting the bag. This is the only way. There's always another way. Not this time. The shout echoes in the room, and suddenly the bag is on the floor, torn from its chain, and Maxime is breathing hard, knuckles bloody, looking at me with so much anguish it steals my breath. I'm sorry, he says immediately. I didn't mean to. I know. I cross to him, take his damaged hands in mine. I know. I can't lose you, Maya. I can't. And if I don't end this now, permanently, they'll keep coming. They'll keep trying to hurt you to get to me, and eventually they'll succeed. So you're willing to die instead? If that's what it takes to keep you safe? Yes. The simple honesty of it breaks my heart. The night of the fight comes too fast. Maxim leaves at 10 p.m., and Yuri promises to come get me an hour later. Neutral observers are allowed, and I've made it very clear that I'm going to be there whether they like it or not. When we arrive at the underground club, the energy is different from before. This isn't entertainment. This is ritual, ancient and brutal and final. The crowd is split, Bratva on one side, Italians on the other, a clear divide with the cage in the middle. Yuri guides me to a seat near the front, and I see him for the first time. The Italian fighter. He's massive, 6'5", maybe 270, with scars covering his arms, and a face that's been broken and rebuilt so many times it's barely human. He looks like violence incarnated, and when he catches my eye, he smiles, predatory and cold. That's Cristiano Ferretti, Yuri says quietly. He's killed 14 men in challenge combat. Never lost. My blood runs ice cold. 14? Maxime is 15-0 in official matches, but Cristiano has him beat in actual kills. Yuri's expression is grim. This is going to be bad, Maya. Really bad. Maxime enters the cage, and the Bratva side erupts in cheers. He doesn't acknowledge them. His eyes find mine across the room, and for a moment, just a moment, the cold fighter mask drops, and I see the man underneath. The man who kissed me. The man who promised he'd win. I mouth 3 words. I love you. His eyes widen, and I see his lips form the response. I love you too. Then the referee signals, and the fight begins. It's brutal from the first second. These aren't regulated cage fights with rules and weight classes. This is primal violence. No time limits, no rounds. Fight until one person can't continue. They collide in the center of the cage, and I immediately see the problem. Cristiano has at least 40 pounds on Maxim, and he knows how to use it. He drives Maxim into the cage wall, lands brutal body shots that make me flinch, and Maxim is on the defensive, trying to weather the storm. The first 2 minutes are agony. Maxim is fast, faster than Cristiano, but every hit he lands seems to do nothing, while every strike Cristiano connects with draws blood. He's going to lose, someone behind me mutters, and I want to scream. But then, Maxim changes tactics. Instead of trading power for power, he starts moving, circling, darting in for quick combinations, then escaping before Cristiano can counter. It's beautiful and terrifying, like watching a wolf hunt a bear, patient, calculated, waiting for the opening. 5 minutes in, Cristiano's breathing is labored, the pace is wearing him down. 10 minutes, and he's swinging wild, missing more than landing. 15 minutes, and Maxim is still moving, still sharp, barely winded, and then Maxim sees his opening. Cristiano throws a haymaker that leaves his entire left side exposed, and Maxim explodes forward. 3-punch combination to the body that folds the bigger man in half, knee to the face that straightens him back up, spinning elbow that drops him to the canvas. The crowd is screaming, and I'm on my feet, heart in my throat. Cristiano is down but not out. He's trying to stand, and Maxim could finish it. One more strike, one final blow, but he doesn't. He steps back, waits, gives Cristiano the chance to surrender. Stay down. Maxim says, loud enough for everyone to hear. It's over. Stay down. Cristiano spits blood, looks up at Maxim with something like respect, and nods. He stays down. The referee signals, Maxim wins, and the Bratva side erupts in celebration. Yuri is beside me, pulling me toward the cage, and then I'm inside, and Maxim is there, bleeding and exhausted but alive, and I throw my arms around him and don't let go. You won, I sob into his chest. You won. I promised you, he murmurs, holding me so tight it hurts. I always keep my promises. Later, after the celebrations, after the formalities, after Maxim has been stitched and bandaged and declared the victor, we're alone in his car, driving through the early morning streets of Manhattan. So, what happens now? I ask. Now you're safe. The Italians backed off. The war is over. He glances at me and his smile is soft, real, nothing like the fighter from the cage. And I meant what I said. You can have anything you want. I pretend to think about it. Anything? Anything. There's this fight coming up, I say slowly. Next week, big event, championship level. Okay? Winner is supposed to get $1 million and a title belt. I turn in my seat to face him fully. But I was thinking, what if the stakes were different? What if someone made a bet? His eyes narrow, amused. What kind of bet? I take a breath. Win this match, and I'll marry you. The car swerves slightly before he regains control. What? You heard me. I'm grinning now, reckless and wild and completely serious. Win the championship fight next week and I'll marry you. No long engagement, no big wedding, just us. He pulls over. We're somewhere in Midtown, streetlights casting orange shadows, and turns to face me fully. You're serious, he says, and it's not a question. Completely. Maya, I'm a criminal. I'm Bratva. I've killed people. Your life with me will be exactly what I want. I cut him off. I see you, Maxim. All of you. The fighter, the killer, the protector, the man who stayed up all night talking about his childhood because I asked. I see you and I love you and I'm not afraid. You should be. But I'm not. I lean closer. So what do you say? Do you accept the bet? He stares at me for a long moment, and I can see him warring with himself, the part that wants to protect me from his world versus the part that wants to keep me forever. Finally, he cups my face in his hands and kisses me. Soft, sure, absolutely certain. I accept, he murmurs against my lips, and I'm going to win. I know you are. He kisses me again, deeper this time, and when we break apart, he's smiling, really smiling, the kind of smile that transforms his entire face. You know this means you're mine now, he says, permanently. I was always yours, I reply. You just had to catch up. We drive home as the sun rises over Manhattan, and I don't think about the danger still lurking in the shadows or the complicated reality of loving a man like Maxim Volkov. All I think about is next week's fight, and the way he looked at me when I said, I love you, and the absolute certainty that, win or lose, I've already found exactly where I belong.